Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from Vince, and today's question is, should grown men play with action figures? That's the question. We're going to put 10 minutes on the clock, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about if we think it's cool for grown men to play with action figures. That's the question. Here we go. You got Vince?
At first I thought you were just yelling at me, but you said the question came from me, so I was like...
Oh, no, I'm not. No, you're okay. You're not in trouble. It's all right. No problem.
I'll put my toys away. So...
Oh, well, I know how you feel about this particular topic.
So, is it okay?
Yeah, right.
I gotta say...
It depends.
Yeah, I gotta say it depends. I mean, I think it's all relative as to whether or not you still get joy out of it, and I don't think that you should necessarily be judged for entertaining yourself via playing with figures. I mean...
You think it's okay for people to do that and other people knowing about it?
I think it's okay to do that and other people knowing about it as long as they know, like, you don't think it's real.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find people that love you in spite of it, I mean, sure. I mean...
That makes it sound worse somehow.
Well, here's the deal, is that I like D&D. I like playing D&D.
Sure, yeah.
I like playing other role-playing games. My favorite one is Marvel Universe role-playing game. It's a lot of fun. Now, there are other people that know this. Most of those people play those games with me. But, it's essentially the same thing. I mean, the difference is...
That's a good point.
If I'm playing I'm Spider-Man, and I'm fighting the Green Goblin, and my partner is Iron Man, and we're doing this via some rules that's set up by the Game Master, who is currently off-screen.
He's the Watcher.
He's that's a good idea. I like that, actually.
See, I always thought that's what they should have called him. I always thought the Game Master should be the Watcher.
That's a terrific idea. Should email Marvel and say, you screwed up.
Yeah, you totally botched that up. Too late now.
But, so anyway, so we have this going on. What's to say there's any real difference between two guys, grown people sitting around with an action figure of Spider-Man and an action figure of Iron Man,
yeah.
And they're fighting the Green Goblin who's being controlled by somebody else. I mean, the difference is that there's a set of rules, and the reason why it's a game is because there's rules.
Yes,
and
sure.
The reason why it's not a game is because there's no rules, but it's still play. It's still the correlation between the two is that there is a recognizable state of play where you are pretending to be somebody else, and you're essentially trying to have fun. I mean, that's the point of it.
And I think the reason that that would be looked at as weird is just because it's unstructured, and because it's that thing you did when you were a kid. Mm. You know, it's people expect that to a certain extent you put away childish things when you grow up. Mm-hmm. That being said, I kind of get, and I agree with everything you just said. I think that it's like anything else, it's a case-by-case basis. I totally get why that would be frowned upon for a person who in other ways, who has like an obvious pattern of having breaks with reality. You know what I mean? Like, if a person is obviously not well-adjusted, maybe that's not healthy.
I think part of this is that this unstructured idea of play, this pretend acting out of potentially real life or even fictional circumstances, is a sign of development. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and so people figure you would be developed enough by the time you were 35 that you wouldn't be doing that anymore.
Yeah, you can act out things in real life. You're not just somebody who's being told what to do by their parents.
You have a lot of insight on this.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good point.
I've been taking a human development class.
Let's do this for a minute. Would you play with toys? I mean, now, like, could you see yourself getting out a bucket of action figures and sprawling them on the floor, and coming up with a plot in your head while you were playing, where Joker kidnaps Vicky Vale and Batman goes to save her? I mean, would you go in and do that?
There would be one thing that would make me be able to do that.
I'm not sure there ever was a Vicky Vale action figure. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There should be. Excuse me. There would be one thing that would make me be able to do that, and that would be playing with a kid.
Okay, sure.
And because the idea,
me too, and I've got one.
I had I have two moments that I want to cite right here, real quick. I went to a convention recently, and they had a big bucket of action figures. Incidentally, pretty much the only action figures in the place. But at the convention,
I was at that convention too. Yeah.
True. They had this big bucket.
I didn't even look through the bucket because I was going to see if maybe I could get something for Jason, and there were kids in it the whole time I was there.
Yeah. I went and looked, and some of them are broken. There was just a big bucket of action figures just to get attention, essentially.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any qualm being on all fours digging through a big box of comics. But then when I went over to that big thing of toys and started digging around, I was like, I feel
then you got self-conscious.
So weird.
Wow.
Like, people are looking at me right now.
That's interesting.
And the other thing I want to cite is I have a friend that still plays with figures. He and his brother get together and they play with figures. And it never occurred to me to judge them. And he wanted me to play at some point. So I'm sitting there going, I hang these on my wall.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what to do.
It's just a different mindset now. Yeah.
I was totally frozen. He said, "You suck at this," and I said, "You're right. I do. I can't wrap my head around it." And I understand that maybe part of it is trying to throw away, like just being yourself and being in the moment rather than trying to hold on to what is adult and what is childish.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I find it difficult. I would just find it difficult, and I'll say I haven't done it in years and years and years either. And I would find it difficult to put myself back in the same mindset I had when I was a kid doing that. And I think it's because I have more outlets for it. I mean, I'm a writer. I write stories. I've got other outlets for that kind of creativity. I just don't think that it's necessarily a problem. Like I said, I mean, you and I can't really figure out how to get back into a mindset to do that. But I mean, like, I will say I could see situations where I would play with toys or at least use them. I mean, I could see making videos like, with
stop
action
motion
figures,
videos or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I did that in high school for school projects. That wasn't weird. Yeah, you know what I mean. But there was a script. It was a structure. They were the actors, and you were voicing them. And I don't know.
That's the thing is that I think I need a set of rules to be able to play. I think if I'm going to make up a story about some characters, I want one of two things to happen. I either want a guiding set of rules where I'm the game master, or I'm one of the people playing a game, and or I would like a guiding set of rules in the set of a video game, or I'd like to create my own rules. And
okay.
I would like to come up with
but
something.
But you need structure.
Yeah, I need
some kind of structure.
I mean, without structure, it's not satisfying for me. I mean, for a kid, it's satisfying either way because you're indulging this fantasy. For a guy that wants to play with figures, it's satisfying either way because you're indulging a fantasy. It's not interesting to me to indulge the fantasy. I need structure.
I'll tell you this. I'm not sure I would have been in the same situation you were when you... Maybe I'm revealing too much about myself when I say this, but I'm not sure I would have been in exactly the same situation as you when you felt awkward trying to play figures with your friends. I think the reason I would have a tough time doing it now is because I'm by myself and it feels weird doing all that in my head. It feels weird like moving stuff around and voicing everyone and stuff with no one else around. I used to, and I could see myself doing this again right out of high school. One of the things that I had a big hobby for a while. It was email role playing. It was email RPG. Oh, yeah. And email role playing. I'm not sure if anyone even does this really anymore, but it was basically writing fan fiction with other people. Is essentially what it was. There wasn't a lot of structure. There weren't a whole lot of rules. The rules were basically don't make your character so powerful that no one can do anything. You can't kill anyone without talking to the whole group and deciding that that's what should happen. There were a few rules, but it wasn't like you throw dice to figure out what happens. You know what I mean? Like if you want there to be a car crash, there can be a car crash. That sort of thing. And so you were in control of one character, and maybe and then there were like maybe NPCs that anybody could do anything with, and stuff like that. But that was just like writing stories, and that's not completely unlike this. It's just that it's not it's not as kiddish because you're writing it, you're not playing the action. You know what I'm saying?
You have the employ of language.
So, but I'm just saying that I don't think that it's the lack of structure that would keep me from doing it.
I think here's something that might be relevant to say. So
go ahead, Vince.
We as a culture seem to be okay with adults going to see children's movies as a way of reliving their past. But if a person picks up a toy and plays with it, and that seems childish.
This is, yeah, you're right, and honestly, I don't think that there's enough room in this video to really expound upon this, but there's also, I think, a blurring of lines going on a lot these days of what's for kids and what's for adults. Video games these days being mainstream entertainment for everyone, and stuff like that. like it's and comic books being mostly for adults. I mean, like we're really blurring the lines these days of what's acceptable for adults to do that they used to do when they were kids. I think that's a good thing. Being the kind of person that likes to read comics and likes to and collecting action figures is not weird. Collecting them is not weird for most people, or at least. I think it is weird for some people. Actually, just to say that, I remember having certain members of my family come over to my apartment. I think it was weird that I displayed them. I've had certain people that thought that was strange. Admittingly, they're from different generations, but
Like, why do you still have these? Get rid of them. Like, why?
I
like them.
Yeah, but I like them. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not really taking them off the shelf and like playing with them like I used to. So.
I mean, I guess in my head, I can't say they're really, really art pieces, but they're not necessarily playthings.
Yeah.
So.
But I just like what they look like in my house. And we're collectors. And collectors collect different things.
My girlfriend has a friend who is a model, and not kidding. She came over. She and her boyfriend.
You're not going to tell me that you saw this hot model playing with action figures.
No, she wasn't playing with action figures. But she
sorry,
and her
that would have
boyfriend.
been so cool.
She and her boyfriend and me and my girlfriend were over here playing some Rock Band, and
that's not weird to people either.
No, that's not weird. But
you're
she
playing
comes
plastic
in here.
instruments with no noise coming out. Come on, 20 years ago, that would have been weird.
That is true.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
She comes into my geek room, looks at my action figure collection, and her exact words were, "You have good taste."
That's cool.
So granted, she's also like 23, but I don't know. I can't judge somebody who's 23. I'm 25. That just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a weird thing to say. But what I'm saying is that I think we have this generational thing, or it's generational, and I think we have this idea that it has to be applied to a particular cohort or something. But and that crowds of people will not be into certain things. But it's interesting to see that how far some of this geek stuff can span.
Well, and we just live in really interesting times because the stereotypes are blurring. Mm-hmm. Some of the stereotypes are certainly still there. Some of them are evolving and changing, and what we used to see as not okay and undesirable are not necessarily that anymore. So it's really interesting. But I think by and large, people would still look at grown men strange if they saw them sitting on the floor playing with action figures by themselves at 25, 30 years old.
See, my final thought on this is I can't judge it because you're trying to relive a part of your past, or you're getting some sort of therapy out of unstructured play.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge it either. I do think that there are certainly circumstances where it could be unhealthy. I will say that I could see, but I think that's true of lots of other things also. I could see where you could look at a person and look at the rest of their lifestyle and say you need to get your head out of the past and figure out how to what I mean, if a person's doing that and they also aren't actively looking for a job and they're living with their parents and yada yada yada. When you get into the really really stereotypical stuff where you've got a person who's completely lost and doesn't have any grasp of reality, then it's maybe a problem. Kind of like you're not going to know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to say this to the camera, kind of like the whole, Reginald Barkley and the holodeck thing in Next Generation, where Barkley is obsessed with playing on the holodeck, and it's like he's playing with action figures. I mean, it's really a similar sort of thing. So anyway, well, what do you think? Is it cool for grown people, and I say grown men, but grown anybody, is it cool for grown men or women to play? I'm not sure how many grown women are playing with action figures. That'd be an interesting statistic.
Grown bears and turtles?
That'd be an interesting statistic, wouldn't it? But anyway, is it okay for adults to play with figures? Let us know what you think. Put that in the comments below. Also, if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
See you next time.